There you guys are. So we're about to do the ScrapYard podcast. We got about 4 minutes before we go live. So I figured I would start the live Instagram video already. Give you guys about 3 minutes to tune in. And then we're going live at the top of the hour. We got MMA ring card girl and fitness competitor Deseree Flores calling in. We're going to talk to her about a lot of the hot topics going on in the mixed martial arts world and, you know, all the cool things that she has going on as well. So really looking forward to that interview. What's up, Anchor Nation? How you doing, buddy? We definitely got to talk, man. We got to try to reschedule that interview. I apologize. I've been slow in responding to DMs, but you know, we'll definitely make that happen, man. I appreciate you. How's everybody doing today? Thomas Redden, what's up, buddy? Just waiting for my boy Todd to call in, my co-host. And then, like I said, we're going live at the top of the hour. If you guys have any questions for our guest, Deseree Flores, or any questions for us, MMA related or even fitness related too, just go ahead and type them in the comments there, and we'll answer them live. And I think we got Todd on here. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's cracking, man?
Living the dream, man. I got the Instagram live feed going, and then, 2 minutes countdown before we go live here on BTR.
Right on. Hey, I talked to you about this briefly before, but I'd like to set it up to where, is it possible that we could both be video fed into the show like you're doing on your side?
There is, man. We actually could do a Google Hangout. I see a lot of podcasts doing that. What it would be is like we would set it up for our webcams on our computers, and it would basically be like I would talk, you would talk, and then whenever one of us spoke, the camera would go to that person, whoever's talking. We could definitely try to do that. That'd be fun. Because what I do with this, like I do it for my cell phone. So I just set it up like I do the live Instagram thing on my cell phone, and it's kind of like pointed at me, like as I'm talking to the microphone. But yeah, man, that'd be cool if we could set something like that up.
Yeah, let's explore it. Maybe just do a dry run or something sometime and see how it looks.
Hell yeah, man.
If it's smooth, man. Because like I said, I got all this memorabilia and shit. It would look cool. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily presentable right now. I haven't brushed my hair yet. I'd have to get up a little early. I've been Hey, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't even realize there was a fucking fight last night, man. I guess Ciccarelli knocked out Brunson, was it?
It was. I didn't watch it either, but I did see that highlight, man. Ciccarelli fucking starched him, which is crazy because you look at what Whitaker did to him. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. No. Ciccarelli, he's a problem, dude. I would say if that dude could get halfway decent striking, everybody's in trouble.
And he's got that now. That's the thing. There we go.
In 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, folks, welcome back to the ScrapYard podcast. I promise at some point we will get rid of that horrendous intro music, but bear with us for the time being. So you got Mitch Ciccarelli, you got my boy Todd Jackson live. We are going to be joined pretty soon by MMA ring card girl, MMA radio host, and fitness competitor, and also a practitioner of martial arts, Deseree Flores. She's going to be calling in about 5 minutes, and we're really looking forward to that interview. But before we bring her on, Todd, what's up, buddy? How was your week?
Hey, it was great, man. Just plugging away, working away, and you and I were just discussing. I'm so embarrassed. Got a little tied up with my son and my nephew yesterday. I'm trying to teach these young kids. They're like 17, 18 years old. Trying to teach them how to shoot pool. I've been doing that since I was a young man.
Nice.
And so I had them out shooting pool, had a couple drinks, and completely forgot that there was a fight card last night. There's so many UFC events and Bellator, and it's just, the market is so saturated. It's like, it used to be, I was proud of the fact, it's like, I never miss a UFC or a Bellator or what was the WEC back then, Strikeforce. I was watching every show. I could speak intelligently. It's gotten to the point now where even when I do catch a card, I don't recognize half the dudes. It's just blown up, man. It's crazy to me that the fight card every freaking weekend from somebody. It's crazy.
It's insane, man. And there's positives and negatives to that, right? Like on one hand, it's awesome that there's so many fights. You can, anytime you're craving MMA, you just turn on FS1 or you turn on Fox Sports and it's on. But the negatives to that, it's like, man, like I remember back in the day, like these guys, they would only have a few fight cards, but when they had those shows, it was like you knew every fighter on the card. And these days it's tough. I mean, it's cool to watch these unknowns turn into stars, but on the other hand, it's like, man, like I missed the one last night too, and I don't feel too bad about it. But I did watch the highlight of Jacare Souza completely starching Derek Brunson. Jesus Christ, man, Derek Brunson, this is a guy who's a really serious contender at middleweight, in my opinion. He's very underrated. His knockout power has been developing a lot over the years, but the dude is just all around a very, very good middleweight. So to see Jacare, a guy who's known primarily for his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to see him start developing his striking and knock out a guy like Derek Brunson, I mean, it's crazy, but it's also, and we just talked about this before we went on the air. You look at what Robert Whittaker, the current champion, did to Jacare Souza, and then you look at what Jacare did to Derek Brunson. It's like, man, I'm impressed with Jacare, but I'm even more impressed with Robert Whittaker for how he was able to take care of a guy like Jacare.
Yeah, Jacare, as I mentioned, is a problem for anybody. We already know, the lethal, just absolutely world-class jiu-jitsu is there. And the ability to impose that, like, it's one of those things when we talk about these fighters, I think of a guy like Ben Askren. Hey, I know what Ben Askren's going to do to me. Ben Askren knows what Ben Askren's going to do to me. Everybody in the world knows what Ben Askren's going to do to me. It doesn't matter how much time I spend trying to figure out a way to stop that dude from doing what he wants to do to me. It's going to happen. And it's the same thing with Jacare, dude, the way that he's able to force the situation that puts him into the position to have that dominant aspect of his fight game. And it's just impressive to watch. But then you see this other wrinkle where you're like, his striking's been coming along for years. He's had some impressive moments on the feet. And you're like, Jesus, man, if this guy can put it all together, I mean, he's already just super dangerous. But if he can tie everything together, man, just what a formidable opponent for anybody at that division. So it's exciting to see him coming along. And then again, you mentioned Robert Whittaker, like he's like head and shoulders above everybody else. Just you start seeing some of the guys and what he's done with them, and the ability and fashion in which he's done it. And then you throw Jacare into the mix or something like that. But Jesus, man, this guy, Robert Whittaker, he's a big dude.
He is, man, and it's really unfortunate what's going on with him physically right now. I know he's got that, I think he's got like a staph infection in his stomach, which sounds absolutely fucking horrible. I mean, that sounds beyond painful, and that could be life-threatening too. So, I mean, we definitely hope that he makes it through this. He's able to come back. It would really suck, man, if like this was a situation where it killed his career, or they strip him of the title because he can't come back in time. Because he's right now, like we just said, man, he's head and shoulders above everybody else in that division. But there's still a lot of fighters out there that he hasn't fought yet, and he hasn't defended the belt yet. He just recently became the undisputed champ, due to GSP vacating. I really wanted to see that fight with him and Rockhold, and and obviously a Jacare rematch would be interesting. You got Chris Weidman still in the mix, Kelvin Gastelum, another one. So it's just. We wish the best for Robert Whittaker. Hopefully he can come back healthy. Hopefully he can show the world that he is right now the best middleweight fighter on planet Earth. I look at this guy, man, like, you look at what Anderson Silva did with that title. A 7 or 8 year title reign, had the most defenses until Demetrius Johnson broke that record. I look at a guy like Robert Whittaker and I'm like, man, this could be the next one. But, it's just a matter of can he stay healthy. So we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah. Without a doubt, and you talk about, taking just one fighter out of the equation. Everybody knows that knows me. I'm a huge baseball fan. I follow that sport very closely. And the thing is, you see these major league athletes, and nowadays more so than ever, these guys are pampered, right? Like, so you got a guy that he stubs his toe on the way out of the bathroom, like, I'll get this guy Tommy John surgery. Let's rip his elbow apart. And it's just this like precautionary everything. They got families, they've got employment that they have to take care of, and somehow they find a way not only to fight through these injuries and difficult situations, but they find a way to perform at an extremely high level. I can talk about it all day. I really applaud these guys and think very highly of these guys and females as well. So just something worth noting,
Absolutely. So I just sent a quick text to our guest, just telling her to she's ready to call in now. So while we're waiting for her, though, let's talk about some news that just broke last week. Huge super fight that was just recently announced between the heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic and the light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier. Man, this is a really exciting time for mixed martial arts because I feel like we're going to get to see a lot of champion versus champion fights this year. I think didn't we just have one recently, or I'm trying to remember. I know there's they got DC and Miocic. We got possibly TJ Dillashaw and Mighty Mouse, and possibly Amanda Nunes and Cyborg. So, what do you think about these, man? Number one, how do you think this Stipe Miocic DC fight's going to go? And number two, what do you think about doing champion versus champion?
I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely the way to go. It's something that I feel like in combat arts, you want that, right? As a fan, you want to see that. And I watch, I bag on Chael Sonnen a lot, right? But the thing is, I listened to they did an interview with him just the other day, like I think it was like the 26th or the 25th, literally before they announced this fight. And he's talking about, he's like, there's been a change, and I'm paraphrasing what he said here, and it's not my original thought, so I don't want to take it like that. I'm repeating what he said. But he said there's been a change in the dynamic of how Dana White is promoting fights now. Like that, it used to be you stayed in your lane. Basically, that was the way that he looked at. He didn't want people crossing these weight class barriers. And to our point earlier, maybe that's because the waters were shallow, right? You can't have your welterweight champion jumping up to fight middleweight when the water's not that deep behind him. So I guess that made sense at the time. But now you've got so much talent, and there's so much changing of, I think Anthony Johnson is the best example of someone who can transcend weight classes and transform their career and transform their ability by doing so. We don't know if we had never seen Anthony Johnson jump back up to 205, Anthony Johnson would probably be working at a car wash right now or doing something else.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't, I'm not saying couldn't do something more than that. I don't mean to put it off that way. But where I'm coming from is he might be working a totally different job if he had stayed at 170. He might be doing something completely different. But at 205, which we never once, when he was fighting at 170, thought, oh, this guy should be fighting 2 weight classes, 3 weight classes up. No, we never thought that. But then when it happened, and he moved up to middleweight, that didn't work so well. Then he moved up to 205, became a wrecking ball. And you're just like, this dude couldn't cut it at 170. He was average at best. And then at 205, he's just a monster. So I say all that to say this. I really, really like the idea of guys tinkering around with performance and weight cutting and where do I peak at? Where's my ideal weight? Because the old school mentality is, you have to take as many advantages as you can, and the best advantage you can control is to walk around but be able to cut down at an ideal weight to make weight for this division, but then walk around to this higher weight division or weight class and this bigger build and this bigger frame. Well, maybe that's not true for everybody. It wasn't true for Anthony Johnson, right? I mean, it didn't help him cutting down from over 200 pounds to 170. It didn't make him a better fighter, but the consensus was that's how you take advantage. Well, when you start talking about dudes moving around in weight classes, we might see some interesting. To see Dillashaw fight Mighty Mouse or Nunez and Cyborg, these are the best fighters, right? You want to see the best fighters fight the best fighters, not always just the guys next guy in line. So I'm with it.
I'm with you too, brother. Well, that being said, it looks like we got our guest on the line right now, Deseree Flores. Deseree, welcome to the ScrapYard podcast. How you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
We're living the dream. I know Todd's out there in Arizona where I wish I would be. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and it's actually not that cold today, but I love Arizona weather, so I wish I was where you guys were.
Beautiful today. Sunny, warm.
Oh, jealous. I am jealous.
Yeah. I've got the same thing going on in Tucson, man. It's gorgeous. We got the doors and the windows open, and just loving this weather, but our faces melt off in July, so there's a trade-off for it.
That is true.
Are you in Colorado, though?
I'm in Denver.
You're in good training weather.
What's that?
You're in good training weather.
I am. That's the thing. That's the only positive thing about this. The altitude is great. So I've been stationed here about 3 years now, and it's a good place to be in. But I used to live in Gilbert, Arizona, when I was like a teenager. Before I joined the military and all that good stuff, and I love that. So I definitely got to make a trip back soon. But Deseree, so before we get started with anything, let's go ahead and introduce you to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and kind of how you got into martial arts and fitness.
Okay, I lived here in Scottsdale for quite a few years, originally from LA, but I pretty much consider myself from Scottsdale. I've been in fitness. I got serious about fitness. I'm actually 36 years old. I got serious at 29. I compete. I competed in 2 national competitions last year. My first one I got third call-ups, but I got first call-ups in the second one. My prep for this season will start in March. I got into martial arts, I'd say it's been like 4 or 5 years ago now. And basically I wasn't raised around it. I knew nothing about it. I used to hate UFC fights. I thought they were so weird, 2 barefooted guys. And I did, and I actually first got into it because of self-defense. So I went through a really bad situation maybe 6 years ago, and I wasn't able to defend myself as a man, and it was horrible. My jaw doesn't sit right and everything. And then a couple years later, I tried to help somebody out, and the guy pushed me out of the way, and I just was like, I'm over it. I walked into a martial arts gym. I was so intimidated by it, and it just changed my life, and it just changed me in so many ways ever since, and I've completely surrounded myself in it. I started going to all the events. Sometimes I go by myself because not a lot of girls like it, and go watch fights by myself. I didn't care, and eventually started being the ring girl because I was at the fights anyway, and I was watching my friends fight. I was training at gyms, so I became friends with all the fighters, and I went on from there. So then I became a WFF ring girl, and when LFA came to town, they referred me over to them. And then when I went over to LFA, and I would have conversations with some of the executives, and they realized how much I knew about the local fighters because I'd watched every one of their fights. They asked me to go on the radio show. So I went on the radio show so that I could help promote and interview their fighters. And on the radio show, we have UFC, we have Bellator call in, and our first UFC guest knew me. How do you know these people? I'm like, I'm around this all the time.
Right.
And so it went from there.
That's awesome. And Todd and I talked about that a lot in our last episode about the self-defense aspect of mixed martial arts. So I come from a traditional martial arts background myself. My parents enrolled me in karate back when I was like 4 years old. I used to get picked on the playground, that kind of stuff. We were just talking about this. We're like, man, if Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu especially, if that was a thing back then, like if it was as popular as it is now, I wish I would have started with that, because that's probably the most realistic fighting style as far as self-defense, being able to defend yourself against anybody from any position. Was that where did you get started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or was it just like all of mixed martial arts, like just going into an MMA gym and just kind of learning everything?
Well, that was the goal at first, because I had no idea what to do. And so, I wish I had started 4 years old too. I could, go back in time and tell my parents what to do. And they put me in jiu-jitsu at 4 years old. But no, actually, I wanted to do that because I put up a Facebook post and I said, what can I do for self-defense? And I researched everything everybody put, and jiu-jitsu just really stood out. So I didn't know. I started at a UFC gym in Scottsdale, and they didn't have jiu-jitsu. They kind of promoted themselves like they were right about to get it, and they never did. So I started in Muay Thai, and I liked it, but I was like, no, I need to switch. So I switched over, and I ended up training under Tonquinho. And that was great. So that's when I guess I started Muay Thai, switched to jiu-jitsu. But I've actually been less steady in that. Just because I finally found a gym where I'm training around a good amount of females, because it got frustrating to me when everybody was so much bigger than me. And I felt like, I wasn't realistically making improvements. Maybe if I'd been a purple belt and I was around a lot of guys, that'd be one thing. But just to be a brand new white belt and trying to learn technique around huge guys, I know they say that'll make you great, but you also need to practice on somebody that's your own size. So it kind of discouraged me, but I've now found a place where there's people my size, and it really changes the game for you.
That's awesome. You talked about you've only been in it for a few years, Deseree. How exciting for you it must have been I know it was about a month ago or so, Eddie Bravo was down at the 10th Planet here in Tucson, and you got to interview him. I've been able to interview Eddie over the years a few times, and what an amazing person to talk to, and what an intellect, like what a special mind he has for understanding, obviously, jiu-jitsu as a whole, the combat arts. And for someone like yourself who maybe didn't grow up doing it, or, you know, a lot of people idolize this guy, but here you are, you spent some time getting to know the sport, getting to know the athlete, and here you are sitting on the mat at the 10th Planet interviewing Eddie Bravo. What was that like?
You know, that was really cool. And also, I just trained with him in LA at headquarters like 3 weeks ago. And
Nice.
yeah, I trained with everybody. And then it was cool. He came down and sat by me and made sure, you know, he taught me things one-on-one as well. And that's all stems from being a part of a martial arts community. You know how that goes. It's such a small community. No matter how big somebody is or famous they are in the world of martial arts, when you have connections, it's just a small, friendly environment. And Anthony Burchak and I, we've been friends for a few years since before I started martial arts. And I really have a really close network of people in this community around the whole world. To where when they fly in near me to California, they're like, are you going to go? Are you going to go? Because that's our chance to see each other because they live in all these different countries. I've flown and met people up in Europe. Because, I don't know, I just love martial artists. It's an amazing community. Eddie Bravo was fantastic to sit and talk to him and to be the one to be able to ask him, you know, why gi versus no gi, the way he responded. Having Anthony and John Botteo there as well. Yeah, that was a great experience, and training with him was too. And they're so friendly at the gym. I feel like he's a friendly guy. Anybody that wants to go train there and learn there, go to headquarters, you know, experience it, get to know his gym. Great people.
Absolutely.
Across the board, though, I feel like anybody in martial arts, you know, most people, you see these UFC fighters and you can get intimidated by them. If you just sit down and talk to them, they're just a nice person and willing to give advice.
Yeah.
Well, you can find somebody that has 1 million YouTube followers, and you can say, hey, I have a few questions for you, and they'll usually say, all right, let's talk advice.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's something that I feel like really appealed to me when I first, I don't know, probably about 2008 was when I really started getting involved in MMA. I mean, I always watched it, but really getting to know people and you know, hey, can I come down to your gym and watch what you guys do, whatever. I think that what really appealed to me was it started out where I was just following local guys. You know, I remember Anthony Burchak's first fight. I want to say he was maybe one of the very early fights of the WFF. And, you know, here's this guy, now years later he was fighting for the MFC, for the UFC, and, you know, here's this local legend in the Tucson area. And you know, you bump into Anthony downtown or something, he's just the coolest cat, right? Him and Mercedes. And so where I'm going with that is just like, these people are accessible. They're real live people. Whereas if you talk about maybe like a basketball star or a football player, or, you know, any number of like mainstream sports, not quite as accessible. I remember watching Uriah Faber one time. We were at some low-level card in Vegas, and one of the alpha male guys was fighting, and Uriah Faber, man, he stood in the lobby of that venue, and he waited till every last fan stopped by. Like, there were people just swarming him.
Wow.
And he stayed there for an hour. Every fan got to take a picture, shake his hand, hey, what's up, you know, and he stayed there the whole time. At the time, Faber was a superstar. Like, he was headlining every WEC card. So it was super cool to see that, someone that at that high level, and then still, you know, take the time to spend with the fans and be out there. So I couldn't agree more with you, Deseree.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true what you say, though, that in MMA they're a little more accessible sometimes than other sports. But, you know, also, I will say one thing that is difficult for any female listeners out there is, at least is what I experienced, is being a female and enjoying the sport has been difficult. And it took some time to gain respect about it instead of, I don't know how to completely express that, but you know, here you have these fighters, and they are accessible, but you keep your distance because you're a female. And so you go in there, and you're watching these fights, and everybody's like, oh, there's just, you know, she's just a girl at the fight. Who's she here for? You know, or, oh, she's a ring girl. She doesn't even know what she's really doing. And people like to joke with me, and they're like, do you know what round it is? And they, like, make these jokes and hand the card, and I'm just like, it's just so demeaning. And And so it took some time, and maybe for myself mentally to both process like they're not going to look at you that way, and also for the way people treated me to realize I really did love the sport. I really did know a lot about the sport, and for me too, the way that I deal with fighters, and now it's at a different point where I can just meet a fighter and roll with it, but I just have to be so careful, you know, that people understood, like, I'm just here for the sport, I don't date in the sport, and so it is a little different for females out there, so I really try to spread the word that when people see a girl walk in the gym, don't hit on her, don't flirt with her, don't think she's there for you, she's there to train, give her resistance, make her learn some things, and be supportive like you would anybody else.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about that too, because I've noticed that. Like, I look at some of the comments people leave on your posts, and I'm like, these guys are fucking idiots. Like, they just don't understand it, and it's crazy to me, because it's so obvious that you know what you're talking about, right? You have a podcast, you know, you interview these fighters, you're a practitioner in martial arts, like, you're not just some pretty girl that's there holding up, you know, round numbers, but it's just, guys are just morons, and it's just, I was going to ask you, like, how do you kind of, yeah, you said what, Todd? What'd you say?
I said we absolutely are. I can't believe some of the shit I see online, dude.
Dude, they make us look bad, man, like, it's crazy, you know, and, like, recently I started building up a following a little bit on Instagram, and I know, Desi, you have a big following, I'm trying to catch up to you, but even I get weird DMs sometimes, like, I love my followers, but sometimes I get, like, some creepy ones. I could only imagine, like, what it's like for you. I mean, you got, like, probably, what, like 20K followers or close to, or maybe more than that. It must be kind of a...
Yeah.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, how I mean, because it's one of those things, it's like, you know, you want to be fan-friendly, right? But at the same time, it's like, when people try to cross the line a little bit, it's like, okay, I just got to ignore them. You know, but then they think of it as like, oh, you're being rude. So how do you kind of, like, you know... How do you deal with that, I guess, is the question.
That is such a good question. I absolutely love that question, actually. You know, it does, it's exactly how you're saying it. I'll get these messages, and, for example, last week I was like, I want to really be responsive to people. I want people to know that. So every single person, unless they're just commenting, you're hot, you know, I'm not going to respond to that. But
right.
if they actually commented something to me or DM'd me something that, for any reason, I could respond to normally, then I did every time, and I'm like, oh, I'm from this place. Oh, that's fabulous. I've been there, you know. And then they DM me like, oh, or I even started going to people's pages. Like, if I see like this person's always liking my stuff, I go to their page, and, you know, like pictures that were showing their progress, things like that, because I truly want to help people. I don't want to be, I'm not on there, like, I don't have a model Instagram page. I put some pictures on there of myself modeling so people can see that I know what I'm talking about when I show, like, muscle and things like that. But overall, I try to show workout videos, and I really, truly want to help people. And so I go to their page and try to, like, you know, motivate them, and then sometimes they'll DM me after that. Something's good, and it's like, you know, thank you, I'll never forget this in my life. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's cool. That's awesome. Like, good, I want to motivate somebody. But then I get people that, like, start getting weird. And then I'm like, should I even respond to people then at that point? Because then they start, like, going further and further and getting carried away, and then, like, maybe I should never talk to anybody or never respond. And so I'm going to continue, you know, responding as much as I can to people. If somebody acts weird, pulling out from it. I think that once people get to a certain level on Instagram, you have to just, like, allow somebody else to take over your account. Just so that people know that and don't try to come at you with those. I mean, I get emails, too, because my email's on there. And some of the stuff, wow.
I can only imagine.
I'm so jealous of you guys. Nobody ever gets weird with me, and I just wish somebody would, because
we gotta build your Instagram up, man.
I gotta get my Instagram
going. Dude. So I started doing.
Somebody get weird with me.
Want that.
I started doing this thing recently. So I started being an ambassador for the supplement company. It's called Bucked Up Sups. I don't know if you've heard of them. They do. They have like deer antler velvet spray and stuff like that. So I get like, you know, 20% commission and things like that. So I started doing this thing where I'm like, okay, if somebody wants to, you know, purchase one of their supplements using my code, what I'll start doing is I'll write programs for you, but I'll also do these videos weekly where I kind of motivate you, and they're personalized to you, right? Well, some people take that the wrong way. This one lady who I had to block, unfortunately, she DM'd me, and she's like, would you know, DM me videos of you showing me your dick? I'm like, no, that's not what this is. Like, that's not at all what I'm trying to do here. You know, I mean, unless you pay me enough, hey, you know, if you give me like $50,000, then I might just have to do that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, to get back on topic here, I wanted to ask you, so we talked about, you doing the interviews with fighters. That's something that Todd and I have been doing for a long time as well. And it's a cool thing when a lot of these fighters, they're very personable, like we were just saying earlier, but it's also, everybody has like a story, right? There's always like, sometimes you interview somebody and it either goes badly or it's so funny. That's just the way that they react. Like I remember one time interviewing Ronda Rousey like years ago when she was the Strikeforce champion. It was like right around the time they announced that she was moving over to the UFC. It was maybe like a week before, and she sounded legit like she had just smoked a bowl. Like she was not into the interview at all. It was over the phone like this, and I asked her about the UFC. I'm like, there's rumors going around. Are you making that move? Like, is there any talk between you and Dana? And I'll never forget. She's like, I'm not answering that question. That's a stupid question. I'm like, okay, bitch. Like, it's so. Exactly. So, have you had situations like that where you've interviewed somebody and they've either for you, it's probably one of those things where fighters probably try to come on to you a lot, I imagine. Have they ever tried to do that like during an interview, or has there ever been kind of like a crazy thing happen while you're interviewing somebody?
Fighters have never tried to come on to me because, I interview people over the radio. So they have no idea what I look like. And then in person, they know me, so they give me respect. So that never happens. But something crazy, I was nervous something crazy can happen. Because, I've heard so many stories of my co-hosts that things have happened that are, embarrassing like that, It kind of embarrasses you, even though you're hosting a show and somebody comes at you like that.
Right.
But I can't think of anything in particular. I think I'd have to say that everybody I've interviewed so far has been really nice to me. But yeah, I can't think of a single person that's shocked me. We've had funny things happen, like when we were interviewing Ciccarelli Close, he stopped me when I was in the middle of talking. He's like, "Who are you?" Embarrassing. Like, Deseree Flores. I live in your state. I go to your gym all the time. He's like, "Who are you?" But no, I've been pretty fortunate, but I'm sure my time will come.
There's always that one fighter. For me, I got to call some fights one time with Don Fry. And
oh, man.
If you've ever had any experience around Don, there's no filter. It's almost like a reverse filter. He says everything that everybody's thinking without even considering whether it's appropriate or not. And we're sitting there and we're watching this fight, and it's this tall, lanky guy, and he's talking about, "Oh, damn, this old boy looks like he's from Ethiopia and hasn't eaten in 3 weeks." I'm trying to do the cut my neck thing. I'm like, "Come on, cut it out, Don. You can't do that." He starts talking about Obama, and I'm like, "Come on, Don, it's a fight. Let's not get political, man." It's an experience every time. That's all I can say.
No, I can't believe I didn't think about that. I had the same thing happen. Don Fry was at LFA weigh-ins. This was horrible. Oh my God, this was so horrible. So we was at LFA weigh-ins, and they tell me, they're like, "Oh, why don't you go get him to come get interviewed?" I was like, "Okay." So they're like, "Hey, do you want to come interview us?" She's like, "Okay." So he comes on over. They totally set me up for this, I'm like, I didn't know that he would be like this. I walked away from the interview.
Wow.
I had to leave the interview because he was telling me, he didn't want to know what he was saying. I'm not going to repeat it. He wanted me to dance for him. He's on air, on live radio. He's talking about how he wanted me to dance for him, winking at me. We could not switch the subject away. He's telling me that he would put a ring on my finger if I would do certain things.
Damn.
It was so embarrassing. Yeah, and then my co-host one thinks it's hilarious. The other was so protective, and so he wouldn't go off. He's like, "She is a respectable," and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, I do this and that." Yeah,
Jeez.
and it wouldn't stop. So
That man's out of his mind.
I had to leave. He is. I couldn't believe it. He was doing that to me. I felt so humiliated. Yeah, I had to walk away, and it was in person, so it's not like on the radio. It was in person. I had to sit there and look at him doing that.
Oh man, that's not cool.
And afterwards, he went and got me a cigar and gave it to me, and he looked kind of sad though. It was so confusing.
Yeah, Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm sorry that you had to experience that, and he wouldn't apologize not once for it. It's just, that's the kind of guy he is. You're right, he's a little bit out of his mind. Hey, I wanted to ask you, Desiree, we'll be seeing you in a couple weeks over the WFF, I hope, and I was just kind of curious, what are your thoughts on some of the matchups we've been hearing about? Do you have any thoughts on the card coming up?
I think one of the exciting things about the card is that the owner is fighting.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare. We just interviewed his opponent on my show, and there's like a 20-year age gap between them.
Yeah.
So this is gonna end, and I know that his opponent has been training over at Couture in Vegas. He used to train in Tucson, so he's really stepped up his game. He's training over there with Dennis Davis, who's one of my friends over there, great coach. So I know he's gonna bring some good game over to this. He hasn't fought in like a couple years, so he is a little rusty in that way, but he's been training really hard. And Tom Ortiz, of course, everybody knows, a great wrestler, is gonna want to take the fight to the ground, and he's gonna have that hometown advantage. I mean, not just where he lived, he's also coaching at Fight Ready. He coached wrestling over at ASU. He owns the WFF, him and Brandy. So that's pretty brave of anybody to go in that environment, because, a lot of people there really look up to Tom, to go in there and fight against him. And it's also brave of Tom, at 51 years old, I believe he is, to get back in the cage. So it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that fight.
That's badass.
Yeah, that makes two of us. And it really is, man. And I really would love to have been a fly on the wall as those negotiations were taking place. Like, how does that discussion come up? Because, like you said, Tom's fought before. It's not his first time. It's his pro debut, but it's been a while. It's been like 10 years since he competed. And it's just like, how many people get the opportunity to fight the promoter? I mean, what a unique situation for Edwin Lewis. And, hats off to Tommy for, at his point in his life where he's at, where he doesn't have to prove anything anymore, but he's still got that competitive spirit where he's, okay, he's not just picking some dude out of a hat. Edwin Lewis is a tough customer for anybody that gets in the cage with him. And to think Tom's like, hey, if I'm going to compete, I'm going to take on someone who's going to be a real challenge for me. I think that speaks a lot to the type of person that Tom is. And again, I would love to have heard that negotiation unfold or that discussion unfold. I think that would have been a fun conversation to hear. But I'm really looking forward to calling it. I think that there's a lot of dynamics to that fight that make it very interesting. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, and that's true. That one of the things you brought up made me think, like, as a fighter, if I was going to go back in, I hadn't fought in 10 years, I'd almost want to fight out of town.
Like a warm up, right?
Tom's brave. Yeah, you want the warm up, your tune-up fight. But he's brave. He's fighting right there in front of everybody he knows, everybody he coaches. As a coach, that has to be hard. Hey, I coach you. I'm going to fight in front of you, a guy 20 years younger than me, and haven't fought in 10 years. Wow. It's incredible. So, who else is on that card? I know Brandon Olivas is on that card. I don't even know who he's fighting, but I absolutely, I started following him on Instagram since he's, I don't know, since he was like a blue belt, not even purple, and I used to like watching him compete, and I actually became friends with him. I reached out to him to become his friend because I loved his martial arts career, and then he switched over to MMA. I've been to, I think, all but one of his fights. So,
as far as I know, Andy Perez is fighting. He's one of my personal favorites of the local guys. I've been watching his career since he was real young, and always an exciting fight for him. I know that he was supposed to fight, I want to say it was Danny Hilton, but Hilton got injured, and so I don't know if they found a replacement for Andy Perez yet, but I really hope he gets a chance to compete. I know he was really disappointed when his opponent got hurt, Danny Hilton. I know one of the Arredondo brothers is fighting. Mitch, you got to look these dudes up, man. They're twins, these two brothers, the Arredondo brothers, and they're always fighting down here, and they are absolute beasts, dude. They're those type of fighters that dictate where a fight takes place. A lot of fun to watch. Arredondo's fighting a kid by the name of Rashkov. I've not seen Rashkov fight, so I can't necessarily speak to that. One I'm really excited about is Talon Glasser is going to fight Madrigal, and Talon Glasser, he's out of the MMA lab. This kid is exciting, man. Really exciting young talent. So there's a couple of fights that I'm really looking forward to, but I think you and I would probably agree, Desiree, one of the most exciting things about these local fights is we don't know half of these kids. We know of them, right? We know their gyms, we see their training partners, but a lot of the times we're getting the first look at some of these guys, and it's so exciting to watch their careers unfold. And it wasn't that long ago that we were watching Roman Salazar cut his teeth in the WFF cage, and then we were watching him in the UFC, or Frankie Saenz, Henry Cejudo, guys like that. So it's always exciting when one of these kids gets in the cage, a young man or young female. They start slinging that leather around, and next thing you know, you're like, this kid's special. We're going to see something special out of him. Jakar Close comes to mind, So I get excited about that. I really get pumped up for it.
Right. Well, first of all, I saw Peter Casado will be on there. I used to train with him. He's pretty cool. And then is it Nolan or Nathan? One of the Highland brothers.
I don't know which one it is.
I think it's Nolan. And let's see really quick. I can tell you. Okay, maybe I can't. Either way, yeah, exactly what you're saying, though. That's what's the really cool thing about the WFF is that you go there and you see the fighters that originated from there that are now in the UFC. They go there. They pay their respect. They still go and watch these fights because that's where they came from. So you're going to run into people, like you said, right? Jakar Close goes there. Henry Cejudo goes there. They all go back, and you watch a fighter, you see them come up, certain fighters are going to stand out to you, of course, when the others, you're like, wow, who's that person? And then, what was really cool to me was, I'm a ring girl, I love the fact that I get to be that close. I get to watch these fighters behind the scenes. How do they act? Some of them are my friends, but they act very different. Like, they'll come in the cage, it's like I'm a stranger, I shut down, I don't know anybody, I don't talk to anybody. And then there's other people that want to, give me a hug and say hi and a high five before a fight, after fight. And, regardless, I watch them go through this, right? The wins, the losses. And then I go to the LFA, and it's kind of like some of us went up together there, right? So we moved to the LFA, and I see them fight there. And then you see some go on to the UFC. I saw Sugar Sean go up into the UFC from LFA, he was a contender and then went on. And then Curtis Millender, I ring-rolled his fight here in Phoenix, and then his fight in LA earlier this year, and then he got the UFC phone call. Corey Sandhagen, I ring-rolled his fight here a week ago, and then he won his UFC debut yesterday. He got the call in the locker room immediately after the fight.
Nice.
From the UFC. Sean Selby, so literally in the locker room in the back, it's the UFC phone call. So it happens quickly. So the WFF though is where it begins. That's the chance to watch a fighter from Kyle Stewart. I used to always Todd, Kyle wins every time. He wins. Next thing you know, he's in the LFA, and he's winning in the LFA. And now he has a really good fight in Dallas. He's number 2 contender in LFA, fighting the number 3 contender. He wins that fight. Who knows, he might get that UFC phone call. So it's really cool to go to these fights and see this yourself, right?
That's the exciting thing about all these. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
No, I'm sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the exciting thing about having all of these different promotions in different cities and towns, a lot of these regional shows. Because you never know, who you're going to see at the big stage. It happens all the time, and it's really cool to see them get that phone call. I wanted to ask you too, because I know you mentioned the LFA. You also are a ring card girl for them. I think they had a fight card. What was it? A couple days ago on the 26th. Were you at that one?
I wasn't at the one that was 2 days ago. No.
I think they had. What was the last one you were at? 'Cause I saw your Instagrams.
That was the third card this year. The first 2.
I gotcha.
I was at the Orange County one. I was the first 2 to the Orange County and the Phoenix.
So how
the last one they had was that middleweight title fight. I wasn't there at that one. Anthony Hernandez got the middleweight title.
That's right. Yep. I was going to ask though, you pretty much have the best seat in the house when you go to those events. How cool is it? Because you're seeing, like we said, future superstars, maybe even sometimes guys that were at that stage that have to kind of build their records back up, so they go to these smaller shows and they test themselves against those young up and coming talents. How cool is that whole experience just to be there live for it?
What makes it so amazing is when I'm friends with everybody. When I went to California, I thought, I'm going to meet new people, it'll be cool. It wasn't the same for me being a ring girl there as it is when I'm here in Phoenix, just because I'm friends with everybody. And I love it. I absolutely love it because I go there, I'm just the happiest person on earth because I go in the back, I see the guys, hitting pads, warming up, getting ready for everything. And I have an emotional attachment to the fighters. I can't help it, I'm rooting for them. And it means something to me. Their wins mean something to me. Their losses mean something to me. Sometimes I'm in the cage and I'm smiling and clapping at a win, and inside I'm like, I don't know how to react, because you just stay away from them. And what do they need? Or sometimes I go to the back and give them a hug, and when I can tell that they want a hug. So it's emotional. It's those LFA fights really mean a lot. You lose and you get knocked out. That's in front of the UFC's watching you, and I know how I'll see somebody undefeated, and then all of a sudden they get knocked out in a few seconds, and I'm like, they didn't get to show themselves. I know how amazing they are. So it's a really cool experience. It's really fun. It's also really emotional. Behind the corners, like at one of the fights, I could tell that the fighter needed to know how much time was left.
Right.
He was my friend, and he's like, he's doing something, and the coach, sometimes they forget, so I'm like, 30 seconds! And the coach turns around, he starts laughing, he's like, thank you. You get into it. You get to be that close up, announcing the time.
That's awesome.
So, I have a question for you. I was just gonna ask real quick, and you bring up a really interesting point that I've had experience with throughout the years, and you're even closer to us than I am, Deseree, in the sense that you go down to the gyms and you train with these guys, and you're friendly across the boards. Something that I've experienced, and it's been really difficult for me over the years, and it's funny you say that about the 30 seconds. Pay attention to George Root sometime when we're calling fights. Root is like the third quarter man, and he's not supposed to be, because we're sitting there calling the fight together. But he's like, what this guy needs to do now is he needs to go for the underhook. He needs to go for the underhook now. And the guy's fighting right in front of us, and I'm like, George, you're not supposed to be helping him out, man. But what are you gonna tell George, right? George is one of the greatest guys on the planet. So, but what I wanted to ask you about, Deseree, was, do you ever feel like you get caught up in some of the, I guess for lack of a better term, I don't want to, bring these guys down in the sense of, like what they're about, but like some of the drama, like the gym drama between this gym and that gym, or this fighter and that fighter, where you're neutral, right? Like you're like, hey, this guy, I have respect for him. He's always treated me well. I treat him well, and we're cool with each other. But then maybe he doesn't get along with fighter B, who you also respect and treat each other well, but somehow you get pulled into that somehow. I've just experienced that a couple times, and it's always real uncomfortable for me, where like, maybe a coach or something's like, I heard you were over at such and such gym with those guys. Those guys are losers, man. What are you doing dealing with them? And it's like, wait a minute, man. I haven't had that experience with them, so I'm gonna deal with it from my point of view, not yours or your experience with them. I'm dealing with my experience with them based on my interactions with them. I don't know if I'm posing that question right, but have you ever experienced anything like that?
I'm very cautious about it, because yes, we, of course, like you said, you go from gym to gym. I've actually noticed everybody so far being supportive of the other gyms. They know, like, certain gyms they won't train at, because I've asked them, like, there's not a lot of sparring partners for you here. How come you don't go over to that place? And I'm like, well, because of that fighter there, that, oh yeah, you guys are in the same weight class and both at the same level. So, they'll just tell me, but they're still friendly about the other gyms. I haven't really had a lot of people where they really just don't like another gym here, fortunately, and I think they understand, my position. But I do get a little worried about it, and I'm cautious, and I'm especially cautious when it's somebody that, like, I know on more of a personal level. We talk regularly. I'm really cool with them. We're good friends, and all of a sudden they're fighting this person. And that person's really nice to me too, and and they're reaching out to me, and maybe I interview them. Like when I was following Henry Carabas during his last camp for this fight that he just won, and then I get my list, and we're interviewing his opponent on the show. I've been following Henry around with his diet, the physiologist at the gym, and so I just told his opponent, I'm like, I'm because obviously I'm biased, but I tell him, like, I'm an interview, it's funny, I'm following Henry around. He's like, well, obviously you're going to root for him. Oh, that's funny, he's like, and then he's just making jokes the whole show about it. So yeah, I've had pretty positive, even Tom Lee, we interviewed him, and I know that he knows I interviewed Bobby in detail, like in person and everything, and on the show. His brother reached out to me on social media before and after the fight, and he's like, oh, we're so happy. I was flat out honest. I said, you know what, I'm really happy for your family. That's such a great, that's so great for you. They're all martial artists in his family. And I said, but I'm still having a hard time with it, because I'm still, sometimes you just, I've interviewed Bobby a lot. I got to know him, and I'm in a hard position. Like, I let him know outright. He's like, wow, we really respect that. And me and my brother still thank you.
That's awesome. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Deseree, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know we've talked a little longer than I told you we would, so But, you know, I feel like we could talk all day, like just the passion that we all three of us share for mixed martial arts. So we definitely got to bring you back on in the future for sure. One final thing I wanted to ask you. So I have my Instagram live feed going. There's a lot of people in the comments, and a lot of females in the comments that are saying, you know, this girl's awesome. Like they checked out your page, like they love how you're in such phenomenal shape. And I want to know if you could give them a little piece of advice, maybe some motivation, because you and I seem to have that same mentality of trying to inspire people. What would you say, you know, to them, to the folks that are maybe beginners, maybe they haven't, you know, lifted weights before in their lives or haven't really focused on, you know, kind of changing their physiques? What would be your piece of advice to them?
I would say diet is everything. Learning how to lift and be in the gym, that's great and everything, but my game changer was when I learned how to diet right. And you don't look around at what society says you should or shouldn't eat. It's so wrong. Everything we were taught, and that's the hard part, is you think, oh, I got to go on a diet. Or this is, you think that, why would I eat that extremely different? Well, because the way we eat is so wrong. And you think you're going to miss food, so you have to get rid of a sugar addiction. It sounds so ridiculous, but you do. And the moment, it takes about 3 weeks, when you get past that sugar addiction, you realize how delicious food is. And if you go back to other foods, you realize how plasticky and disgusting they are. Diet is everything, and you need to take away everything you ever learned about what to eat and start brand new. And you can completely, in no time at all, see ridiculous change in your body, in your energy, and the way you feel. And that changes your whole life. It'll change your career. It'll change your personal life in positive directions because you feel good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, you make good decisions. So not for physical reasons, but for health reasons, for energy reasons, for spiritual reasons, watch what you put in your body and stay away from sugar.
Couldn't agree more. You know, nutrition.
And follow me on Instagram, Deseree Flores Fit.
Hell yeah. Yo, we're definitely going to plug your Instagram. I also want to plug your podcast. It's the NBC MMA radio show. Am I getting that right? Or what's the name of it?
Yeah, it's MMAfightradio.com. We are NBC Sports, but our website is MMAfightradio.com. We're also on SoundCloud. And I'm working right now on, hopefully within the next month, we'll be on YouTube so that you can start seeing our faces. Mm-hmm.
That'd be badass. We'll definitely.
We got great lineups. We just interviewed Dominic Cruz.
Oh, sweet.
Last week, and
I said sweet. Dominic Cruz is awesome.
Oh yeah, I loved that. I was like, oh gosh, Dominic Cruz. But we usually, I don't know. Lately, it's been like Cyborg, Dominic Cruz. Who have I interviewed lately? John Leonte. I don't know. We have a great lineup of people. So yeah.
That's badass. We'll definitely tell all our listeners to follow you on Instagram. That was at Deseree Flores Fit. And we'll also plug your radio show as well. We appreciate you coming on. Like I said, Todd and I got to bring you back on in the future for sure. Todd, was there anything you wanted to say before we let Desi get to the gym and start doing some gym hopping? I know she goes from gym to gym. I saw her Instagram story the other day.
I appreciate you coming on, Desiree. I know we talked about it before, and I'm glad we finally got the chance to work it out. And look forward to seeing you at the fight in a couple weeks. And thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great day, Desiree. Okay. All right, that was Deseree Flores. What's up, Todd?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were just going to wrap that. My apologies.
No worries, brother. Yeah, man, awesome interview. I mean, I know when you told me about her a few months ago, I was like, man, she sounds like definitely somebody we want to bring on the show. And I had a lot of fun talking to her, man. I don't know about you.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. And the thing is, I mentioned to her when I first reached out to her, I was like, I see you all the time at these fights, but we're both working. We never really have a chance to like chat or what have you. Most of the time that I get to talk to these guys or these coaches or whatever, or the staff, is after the fight when we're having a drink in the lobby after we're kind of unwinding from the event itself. But yeah, she's super well known, man. I mean, they've got a great radio show over there that they do up in the valley. So it's good to have her on. I'm really happy she accepted and decided to come on. It's cool to get a different perspective, and obviously she's got a unique one. So that's great.
Absolutely, brother. Well, we got a few more minutes left. I want to talk about going back to that Stipe Miocic-Daniel Cormier fight, because we kind of touched on that a little bit, but didn't get to break it down too much. So yeah, man, I'm excited for this. But it's funny, so Alexander Gustafsson, he's pissed off, and I understand it. I mean, the guy,
Oh yeah, of course.
He feels like he should be next in line. He's pissed off because now he's not going to get that fight right away. But here's my thing, man. Like, all due respect to Alexander Gustafsson, he had a shot. You know what I mean? Like, and he did good against DC. Don't get me wrong. DC didn't just run through him. Like, that was a tough fight for DC. But he lost, And yeah, he did come back. He did win a couple of fights in very impressive fashion. So I would agree that he is, in terms of the 205-pound division, he's got to be the number one contender. But it's like, you can't argue the fact that, hey, this fight between Stipe and DC is great on all levels. It's great for business. It's great to see, for the first time ever, the heavyweight champ and the light heavyweight champ going at it. So I get where Gustafsson's coming from, and I understand that from like we're purists. We get it. Hey, thefightpurist.com, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like this is the right fight to make. What about you?
There's layers to it. And before we wrap, I just want to give a shout out today. I had a good conversation this morning with Donald Royer, a good friend of mine. He runs U.S. Elite Management U.S. Elite Combat. And so Don's a real good guy. I've known him for years. He's real well known down here in the fight community. And he reached out to me today, and as I mentioned to you earlier, going to line us up with a couple of great interviews, get us connected with some guys down here. And Don's been listening to the show. Mentioned a couple things on Facebook. So I just want to say what's up to Donald.
Nice.
He's supporting us, Donald, and we really can't thank you enough. So
agreed.
We'll get together on those interviews. But back to DC and the whole love-hate thing with Gustafsson. Gustafsson deserves it, right? So, I mean, he's done all the right things, and this is a hard position for a fighter to be in where, okay, so I've done what I need to do to put myself front of the line to take a shot at that title. And now the guy's going to put the title on the shelf, and he's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to focus on something else. And what am I going to do in the meantime? I have to stay sharp, right?
Right.
I have to be able to compete in a timely fashion so that I compete correctly. And these guys, they're on a schedule, so they want to fight 3-4 times a year. You can't compete 3-4 times a year if the person you're trying to fight ain't ready to fight you, or they've got another iron in the fire. So it puts Gustafsson at a real disadvantage as far as he's probably going to have to fight again, unless he wants to sit on the shelf and not only wait for this fight to unfold, but then for DC to get back into shape to defend his title. So it sucks. That really sucks. But man, I mean, take that out of the equation, and you're not trying to make decisions based on what's right or wrong, which at the end of the day, is it right or wrong? It's not for me to say. But DC versus Miocic, that's man. That's a great fight. And it's something that I think everybody would like to see. The whole champion versus champion aspect just adds another layer of electricity to it. It's right on so many levels that, I mean, how could you blame anybody for wanting to put that fight together, or for these guys wanting to fight each other? So, it makes sense to me, but damn, I do feel bad for Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And it's that division right now is in a weird place because it used to, like we talked about this before, but that division used to be the best weight class in mixed martial arts. Like, you had all the stars in there. You had Chuck, Tito, Randy Couture. I mean, and then it became, you got all the guys from Pride that came in, Vanderlei, Rampage, Shogun. And now it's like, man, you got DC, you got Gustafsson, you got Ozdemir, who's kind of becoming, a star too. I mean, he just lost